How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We are coming back on this dreadful, snowy, craptastic, whatever you want to call it, Sunday night here in the state of Wisconsin. Way more snow than I thought we were going to get. I'll be honest with you. Like, I know it's supposed to be, we're supposed to come on here and be pissed off and depressed and everything like that about the Packers, and we'll get there. But, like, way more snow than I thought we were going to get today. I didn't think I'd get the snowblower out yet. Bam, snowblower out this morning. Like, I was snowblowing snow. It was fantastic. Got halftime of this game. Did that to cool off. I was cool. I had to cool off. I was all fired up at halftime. Went outside, shoveled some snow. I was like, this is going to cool me down, right? This is going to cool me down a little bit. But, I mean, all in all, we're going to talk about this Packers game. We're going to get into the Packers today. I want to talk about that Badger game because we didn't get into the Badgers the other night there. I told you guys I was going to rewatch. We're going to talk about that Badger game tonight here, Badger men's basketball. I want to talk about that game, preview Ohio State because they're going to take them on Tuesday there. So we got to get to all of it tonight here on the show. But I got Aaron with me tonight here. He's a little bit more chipper than I am. Penn State lost, but the Eagles won. So he's feeling a little bit better tonight here than Wisconsin fans at this point. So, Aaron, how are we doing on this Sunday?
Yeah, you know me. I mean, Penn State reigns like tenfold over the Eagles' success, but I can't complain. I mean, this honestly, I'm excited to get into it with you, not just to pile on your misery. I don't want to do that. It's just, on the flip side, a win's a win, but that's kind of what this was. I thought, a lot of Eagles fans are losing their mind. What this team's amazing. Like, yeah, it's a good team, the Eagles, but it was ugly. You can't play like this against a top tier competition like in the next round, I would say. But yeah, as John comes in already, but
Oregon's worse than that. Worse than that, John. Come on.
They beat Penn State by 1 point in basketball. I didn't see any of that, but they, of course, they had. Hey, we outlasted you in the college football playoffs.
There was was Ace Baldwin playing? Was that from today?
That was tonight. I was
Ace Baldwin didn't play, John. You're gonna tell me you want quack 1 point win with no Ace Baldwin for Penn State? Come on now. That's not even good.
But overall, man, a lot more mild weather here. I would say we got like 1 inch of snow, if that, on Saturday. So hopefully, I'm one of those people that I don't mind. Like, I bring on the snow. Like, and how you said, going out there with the snow blower. There's just something to clearing some snow that, like, it's a therapy for me. I don't know, for some people they hate every second of it, but I'd rather do that than laundry all day. I'd rather give me the snow, give me the shovel even. I'll do that over doing laundry all day.
I feel you there. I do like moving snow a little bit. Tomorrow, though, they're talking it's supposed to be. Last time I saw, it's supposed to be in the negative. Oh, we have a high tomorrow of, it looks like at about 9 a.m. it's going to be -2. A high tomorrow is about 5. But I know the feels like, because it's supposed to be windy, I know the feels like it's way deep in the negative. So it's going to be frigid, stinking cold here in the state of Wisconsin. So I can't wait. That's when all my dairy farmers out there are going to figure out that their water heaters don't work, is when it's cold outside. That's the best time to figure out when your water heater doesn't work, is when your water freezes. So, I mean, hey, we got more to get into. We got to get into the Packers yet, right? We got to get into the Packers here. And, you're talking about Eagle fans there. I posted over on Twitter, and I got all the Eagles fans riled up with me. I said the Eagles did not win this game on their own. I said the Packers and their own mistakes lost themselves a chance in this one. And oh my God, I thought I opened up a can of worms there. Eagles fans are going ballistic. Like, oh, what about those 3 turnovers? They're dropping the dumb and then, dumb butt kind of words on me and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Hold the phone. If you go back and you look at those plays, and we're going to get more into that because I do think there's a problem with Jordan Love. And I look at those throws. The one to Zach Bond, I got so many feelings with that one of Braden Locke against Penn State. And that interception he threw, it was, I believe, what was that? Start of the third quarter? It was in that third quarter. Well, no, it was before third quarter there, that pick 6.
Yeah, I think mid third quarter or start somewhere in there. Yeah.
Something like that. And he threw that one over the middle and there was like nobody in the area code. And Tucker Kraft was kind of over there, but it was just a terrible throw right to Zach Bond. I got the Braden Locke vibes out of that. The one to Dontavian Wicks down the sideline. It was an underthrown crap ball. If he threw it over the top, Wicks had him beat for a minute, but he had to slow down. He had to come back to it. Got picked off. Look at the one that was late in the game, the one to Quinny and Mitchell. if they called a pass interference, which whatever, they didn't call it, the game was over. I get it. It's whatever at that point. But if they call the pass interference call, there is no interception there. So I'm looking at it, and it's like Jordan Love was a big reason for those interceptions. I don't know if it's as much of the Eagles' defense forcing those interceptions. Though the Eagles, I will give props. Props are due. Props are due. The Eagles front, the Eagles put a lot of pressure on Jordan Love. They were flushing him out of the pocket. I will give them that all day long. Like the Eagles, I honestly thought, and I'm going to say this point blank, the Eagles are the better team. Eagles are the better team. More stars. They have the better team. They have the better coaching staff right now. They played better. Like they played better. But the Packers, they played worse. All the things that we talked about all season long that have hurt the Packers, pre-snap penalties, drop balls, everything. The drop balls weren't as bad in this one, but the pre-snap penalties, the turnovers, all the little things, the undisciplined football, 2 different times where they had the Eagles. One was Saquon going out of bounds. Keyshawn Nixon shoves him. And then we had another one with Slayton in the backfield there with Saquon Barkley again. 2 different times, undisciplined football that got the Packers penalties, that gave the Eagles free yards. Instead of being a 3rd and 5, it turned out to be an extra 15 yards for the Eagles and a first down. It's just the Packers beating themselves consistently. And the thing that hurts me the most, once again, they came out of the tunnel and they were flat. They came out of the tunnel with nothing. Zero. Nada. The offense. I'm not looking at defense, Aaron, because the defense for Green Bay, I honestly said to myself, I didn't have it on my bingo card today, that the Packers would be in this game against the Eagles, and it was because the defense was keeping them in this game. I did not think that. I thought the defense could get some stops, right? I thought they could definitely get some stops. 2 for 11 on 3rd down were the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 for 11 on 3rd down. We talked about Aaron the other day. We're like, if the Packers can get off the field like 50% of the time on 3rd down, awesome. Awesome. If it's a little bit more, awesome. 2 for 11 on 3rd down, the Packers defense got off the field. I mean, you can't ask for much more out of a defense. You can't ask for much more. This defense balled out. Yes, they had their mistakes in this one, right? The one to Goddard on the sideline there. Yes, Valentine, he got weight room, right? He should lift up more weights, get a little bit bigger here in the offseason. We'll make that tackle. But outside of that, I mean, I'm looking at the rest of the game, and it's like, okay, where do you want to look at defense and blame, right? They don't have a pass rush. I'll give them that. That first drive, well, technically the Eagles started with it on the Packers, 30? But that first throw that Jalen Hurts had to the back of the end zone, he had, 10 seconds to throw the ball? Like, there was nobody in his face. Nobody. Even on that Rashawn Gary, he had a sack later on in the game, and it still took Rashawn Gary 10 seconds to get there. It's just Jalen Hurts just stood there, and then he busted through. And it's just the inconsistency of the pass rush. It does hurt. And it hurts the secondary, I think, because there was times where you watch that secondary out there and they're not playing bad coverage. Like, coverage looks good. It's just after 10 seconds, 12 seconds, somebody's coming open when you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and the other pieces out. Like, you're going to find somebody open. But all in all, I thought the defense played well. It was just, once again, the offense coming out of the tunnel, and they're flat. There was nothing. They were skidding tires. They were skidding tires once again. Doesn't help first. And this is the one I want to talk about, Aaron. I want to talk about this first one of the game because you watched that replay. I watched that replay. I don't know. I saw a lot of people talking about it helmet to helmet. I saw a lot of people talking that helmet to helmet. I thought it could have been called helmet to helmet. They didn't call that. But when you watch the replay, Keyshawn Nixon has the ball. He rolls over on his back and he's got the ball in his hands. And then he gets dogpiled and then he loses the football. But there again, we thought we had the special teams figured out. And Keyshawn Nixon barrels into a guy. Where was the move? Where was the objective of that? He comes barreling into what was it? Burks coming down the field there. Barrels into Burks, just gets steamrolled and fumbles the football. It's just stupidity. That was just a stupid play. That was just all in all a stupid play. Yes, I thought that it could have been called helmet to helmet. Yes, I thought that Keyshawn Nixon had the ball. But that's just a stupid play. That is just all in all stupid. And Keyshawn Nixon, between that and the undisciplined play on the sideline there when he was called for the unnecessary roughness out of bounds there, just 2 boneheaded mistakes in this game that I thought were avoidable. But I mean, you have to F around and find out, right? Bring it out of the end zone before you're going to fumble. But I'm not saying don't bring it out of the end zone, but I just don't. that play, like, it caught me. It was like, what are you going for when you're trying to break that out? Because he took it right at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have said it better, honestly, with that because it's and like to start the game like that is like, oh my goodness, like how do you? I mean, yeah, players flush bad plays. You know, it's like in baseball, you have a bad at back, you strike out on 3 pitches, right, and you miss all of them by 6 inches. Sure, like players can say, I flushed that, but in a playoff game on the road, like you never want that. And like even to go down in a playoff game, you're like, all right, come on, boys. But like to give the Eagles the great field position. But like you said, I mean, I thought like watching that replay over and over and over again there, I don't know, man. We can speculate with these NFL officials. I just things are like changing. I'll just say it like that because I just some of these calls are so. And now what they call that the replay analysis uh that's like that new feature they have replay.
Oh, the instant replay or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever instant replay something whatever, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, you're still getting calls like obvious calls wrong. It's like they're trying to cover up the fact that they're just either I don't
Well,
know.
that confusion late in the game, like you're talking there, that
Right,
confusion where they did
right.
the replay on that legal man downfield, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, they didn't give him the yards. Wasn't that a completed pass? And like
Yeah,
everybody's like, yeah, it was a completed pass, and they're
they
like, no, wait, what?
they disregard the penalty, saying that it wasn't illegal, man. But yet we're at the same spot where you know what I mean, where like
It
you
just
complete
didn't
the
make
pass,
sense.
no sense at all. And yeah, I just talking about that play in particular though, that I mean, it looked discombobulated for the Packers almost from the start, and you're just like, if you're sitting there as a Green Bay fan, you're just like, wow. I mean, it reminded me of like it's not this to the same level because I wouldn't say the Eagles were really dominant at anything other than defense at times. But like that Pittsburgh Baltimore game where you watched it and you're like watching the like I don't know. Everybody's calling for Mike Tomlin's job now, but like I've been saying that for the last couple of years, but like just teams that are like undisciplined, right? Like we'll mention more of that with the Packers, like them throwing Saquon to the ground like way after the play. It's like even I was like, why would they do like
Yep.
I don't want to get. I mean, sure, give me the free yards, yeah, but I just it's a head like, and then they keep keep saying how Matt LaFleur was pounding in their heads all week. We got to be disciplined. He's showing them clips of like guys that are on this. It's not, but something's not hitting. Like it's
Yep.
either his voice doesn't matter or these players are just jerk. Like they don't care. They're just we'll disregard the head coach and we'll do our own thing. It's one of those couple things. Like,
Do we blame it on the youth? Because that's what we love to blame a lot of things on, is that they're young, right? So do we blame it on then? It's a bunch of undisciplined kids out there. Like, is that what we're going for? Is that going to be our new excuse, right? Because yeah, I agree. The undisciplined play. This team is undisciplined. We saw that point blank in this game here. Now, it doesn't help. Injuries galore. I mean, John mentioned it there. 3 wide receivers out for the Packers. You didn't have Watson. Then Dobbs goes out. The thing that irritates me the most with the Dobbs injury, that ball should have never been thrown. Double coverage. Dobbs is being double covered. If you rewatch that play, Jacobs was wide open in the flats underneath that play, and he threw it to Dobbs. It's just a stupid throw that got Dobbs hurt. Now, I don't want to say I'm blaming Jordan Love for Dobbs getting hurt because that'd be a crappy thing to do. But that ball should have never been thrown. And then what was the last one? Reed got hurt. Reed got hurt across the middle there. And that was just a tough, hard-nosed football play. I mean, Reed was going in with the shoulder. He got a little bit banged up there. I mean, the shoulder was hurt. It's the unlucky part. I don't even know if it was as much as the receivers, as much as the offensive line. When Elton Jenkins went out and they were trying to find an offensive lineman to take his spot, it was like you couldn't fit the pieces to the puzzle anymore. The puzzle was you had a piece to a puzzle that wasn't even in the room with you. You had a completely random piece to that puzzle right there. Glover came in. It was a mess trying to figure that out. And then it was penalty after penalty, holding calls, everything. You couldn't sustain a drive when you're getting constantly pushed back. And you'd have a big play and it'd be a holding. It's just bam, bam, bam. It's like, what do you do? And I don't know. That's just how I felt about it. It was just there was injuries galore and it did not help. It did not help matters, right? It was already bad. You already came out of the tunnel cold. You look at the first couple drives there. I mean, fumble, punt, interception, missed field goal, interception, end of the half. Like, that is a terrible way to start a game. But it's 10-0. Like, you had that bad to a start of a game, and you're still in it. And that's where my utmost disgust comes with this offense right now, with Matt LaFleur and the way that things are trending. And I know exactly what we're getting in the press conference. I know exactly what Matt LaFleur is going to tell us there. I didn't have him ready to go. Sirianni coached a great game. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. We weren't ready to go. We came out. We expected one thing. They did another thing. That's what we're going to get. The classic Matt LaFleur. The classic excuse for it all the time. Sirianni was on the hot seat to start this year. Look what he's doing with his team now, right? At one point, Sirianni, Eagle fans wanted him gone. Now they're like, look at this guy go again. He's got 14 wins. Like, he's a consistent 14 win. How many seasons has he had now with 14 wins? A couple years at least with 14 wins there. He's got a Super Bowl, and everybody was like, let's fire this guy. Matt LaFleur has gotten his team to the playoffs, but they underperform when they get there. So it's like, well, where do you put that into perspective then? My Siri is going off on my phone right now because she heard Sirianni and she's like all freaking out over here on the side. But Matt LaFleur has a lot of questions that he needs to answer. He has a lot of questions that he needs to answer. I want somebody to go into that press conference and I want him to ask the hard questions, not the easy ones. Ask him the hard questions. Hey, I know Josh Jacobs is here now and I love the run game. But why did you go away from everything that worked? Why did you go away from the things that worked when you went down to Dallas? I'm not saying that Dallas is as good as the Eagles, but Dallas was not a pushover team. And you went to Dallas and you found ways to get guys open, make things happen, drive the ball, put up 40 points against the Dallas Cowboys in their house, on the road, in the playoffs. You put up 40 plus points. Now, you did have some picks in there. You had everything else. But you were able to do that on the road. Take half of that here in Philly. You win the football game. It's just the inept play this season, the regression of this team. It just hurts. It hurts to watch because we went into this year and, I mean, how many people out there said, we think the Packers could be a Super Bowl contender. We think they could be a dark horse for the Super Bowl. It's going to be them and the Lions for the division. Nobody was talking about Eagles. Nobody was talking about, Vikings. Not a single soul. They were talking Packers. Jordan loves this. Jordan loves that. I tell you what. And this just might be me, and I'm going to ask you, Aaron, because you've watched this guy a little bit. You've seen him. Jordan Love. He's got the talent. I know he's got talent. Anybody who doesn't think that he has some talent is far out there. He's got some talent. I just don't know if he's got it between the ears. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if he's got it between the ears. Because when you watch him throw, when you're watching him in his progressions, right, and 1 to 2 to 3, when you're watching him out there, his vision, I just don't think it's there. I don't think he sees the field because like I just mentioned before with the Dobbs throw, right? Double covered underneath Jacobs, wide open. The throw across the middle to Zach Bond, literally to Zach Bond. I just mentioned he threw it directly to a Eagles guy. He had Kraft coming across to his left, but he was leading him or I don't know where he was throwing it to. And he ends up throwing it to Zach Bond. So I look at Jordan Love and it's like, I visually, I don't know if it's there. Progressions, I don't know if they're there. I don't know if he's the game is like last season. You watch him, it's like the game came to him all of a sudden, right? During Toyotathon, I saw John mention that in here. 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions during Toyotathon. During Toyotathon, it's like, does it just come to him? Did it all just click, right? All of a sudden last season, about halfway through, right? It was about that Thanksgiving game. It seemed like it all just light switch clicked on. It's like, all right, here we go. And then he went to the playoffs, and then he had that pick against the 49ers in that playoff game in the divisional round. And then this season came around, and yes, the injury happened. But it doesn't seem like it ever clicked. It never came back. He was never consistent. I can't name a time when this offense was consistent, right? When you could just – I don't believe right now – I believe Jordan Love's got talent. But I don't believe right now I could give him the ball and say, Jordan Love, take me down the field and win this thing. I don't know if I could believe in him. I don't. Not against an Eagles team. Not against a Lions team. I don't know if I can trust him to make the throws to get me down the field. I don't know, Aaron. I mean, you're watching. You're seeing it. It's like, this guy's got talent. We know that. I'm not like, we're talking, Eagles fans and them. They're probably like, Jalen Hurts is like 3 times the quarterback as Jordan Love after this one. And it's like, I don't believe that Jalen Hurts is that much better than Jordan Love. don't know what's going on with Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, if let's just say this is the first time you watch Jordan Love, like you're just some newbie or like you never see the Packers, right? One of those deals, and you flip that on, you're like, whoa, like this guy is not good. Like like I'm just trying to like say it as fair as I can. Like he just, I don't know, he's lost out there, and I don't. Is it one of those things where he needs? Like I think them bringing in another number one receiver. We talked about it in the pregame. I think they have to do that at this point just to
Yep.
regain his confidence. Because not to take anything away from these guys, and I'm sure we'll get into the injuries too. I mean, I even tweeted out at one point. I was like, the Packers are glass. I mean, they're just breaking like it's just crazy how many injuries they sustained here, and I mean that's unfortunate for sure. Like I wasn't trying to pile on, just like wow, but it's for Jordan Love. I mean, he's like two different quarterbacks, like from
Yep.
where he was, and I'm not saying he can't find it again. I mean, I think he could. It's just you got to critique what you just saw. You can't, you can't go back and say, well, he's this, he's that. Like, yes, we think he still is that. We probably don't think he's as bad as he was today, but I mean, today he was just. I mean, he threw them out of the game basically. I mean, if they had any chance, when it was close, it was just like he just didn't have it. And like you said, maybe it is the mental thing. Like I never look at and Jalen Hurts is kind of the same way because he's not like I wish he would show more. Like the guy will throw a pick and he'll throw a touchdown and he looks the same way. I kind of hate that. Like I got to be honest with you about Jalen Hurts because it's like show me some body language. Like be excited or be pissed off. Like at least Tom Brady would be visibly mad or like there's guys that Baker Mayfield he'll like flip out. You know what I mean? Like I like that in a quarterback. Not saying you need it, but Jordan Love's kind of the same. Like he just is like a robot. Like there's guys out there that are just robotic in their body language. It's hard to tell. Like, is this guy really amped? Is this guy really mad? Is this guy really happy? Like you just don't see it nearly as much. And like I said, you don't need that. But it's just watching him today. I'm like, man, like he just. I don't know. I don't want to give him like a massive break, but I don't know if it's like what his elbow was the problem that he was kind of battling. I gotta believe like some of those but Hurts threw one that was way underthrown too. I don't know if the wind because they said like Brady or somebody said the wind hit it at a certain and I was like I don't see the wind gusting like you know what I mean like you watch a game in Chicago you see like literally the ball will go way over here or something. I didn't see that so I'm not gonna like really let either guy off the hook for that. Like if it's injury related, sure, but I just maybe it was the way the season went down. You lose enough games down the stretch, you start doubting you start looking around. Can this guy do it? Can this guy bail me out? You start having question marks. Like if they bring a number one guy in and Jordan Love's like, you know what, I can go to that guy in a much needed time. That might change his whole perspective. I just not trying to take anything away from this Packers receiving core. It's just I don't think he's in love with this receiving core. I just Kraft, yeah, but outside, like and Wicks and like Dobbs here and there, but like I just think he needs that like guy. He needs more than like a tight end to like bail him out when he absolutely needs it.
No, I agree. That was my next talking point. Was no number one wide receiver hurts this Packers team. I agree. Like I thought just maybe you had enough guys, right? Different talents, different areas. But Christian Watson goes down. You have no vertical threat anymore. And then Dobbs goes out. You don't have the hands, the red zone guy. And then Wicks had a good game. Wicks had a good game in this one. They were targeting him a lot. He had a good game in this one. But you're banking on Melton. You're banking on Malik Heath. You're banking on your fifth and sixth guys. Jaden Reed, I thought had a good game today, but he kind of went away this season. He wasn't as involved. I don't know. We talk about Jordan Love. We're like, what could simplify the game for him? Like we were talking about before with the, the play calling. Where did the play action game go? Where did it go? Because if you utilize the play action game like they did last season, simplify the throws for Jordan Love, get guys into open space, and just let him dump a ball off 5+ yards right there in front of him. Just dump it off, not have to make challenging throws. That definitely gets the confidence back there too. So Jordan Love is the guy. He's the guy. I know he's the guy. But there has got to be a lot of work that's going into this offseason. First with his vision, second with his footwork. I think his footwork has been off. He's getting a lot on that back foot again. It's getting dangerous times again with Jordan Love. The talent's there. It's just the consistency and finding the rhythm is the hard part. They haven't been able to find a rhythm with him where he comes out and he's just freaking hot, right? We haven't seen Jordan Love just get hot and stay hot. We've seen a drive where he comes out and it's boom, 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 and they're down the field and he looks good. And then the next drive's like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that one. Like, I want to see consistency. And I think they can do, I think Jordan Love can get to that point. But the question is, now you go back to the drawing board as Matt LaFleur, and you go back to the drawing board with the offense, and you say, can we do it, right? And that's where Goody's got to step in and say, is Matt LaFleur my guy to get these guys ready to go, right? Because we're talking about, again, consistently undisciplined play. We're talking about consistently coming out flat. We're talking about consistently underwhelming offense week after week against good teams. I mean, look back to the games that they've played against the Vikings. They put up 7 points in the first half. Lions 3, Lions 7, Vikings 3, the Eagles nothing. There's your weeks ever since week 1. But you know what? Most people don't even include week 1 because that's such a tough. Like week 1 is like still preseason, honestly, at times. So like so many teams grow since then. It's so hard to gauge them there. But you're looking at the rest of that, and you're saying to yourself, okay, Vikings in the early on, Jordan Love was just coming back. You can give a little bit of leeway there. But the Lions twice, the Vikings the next time around, you came out flat. You looked like you weren't ready to go. And that's where I think we always come back to with Matt LaFleur saying, are you the guy because you come into these games flat, you're undisciplined, the pre-snap penalties, the drops come from focus. That comes from we're not talking about Sunday, right? Everybody thinks it just happens on Sundays, right? It's Wednesday through Saturday, right? It's the lead up. It's getting ready for that game. It's practices. You imagine Bill Belichick at practice, right? He would make the Patriots run the same darn thing over and over and over again until he felt like they had it so ingrained in their head that they were ready to rock. That when they went to it in a game, they were watered down. They were ready to go. It was going to be easy, right? It was all those things. It was a well-oiled machine, and everybody's like, well, he was such a tyrant, right? He was, Bill Belichick wasn't this great. He wasn't this nice coach. He was, such an a-hole and everything like that. Yeah, but guess what? He won football games, and you didn't have these consistent problems. You had leaders in the locker room. You were able to get things done. I just don't know. I love Matt LaFleur. I do. I love him as a head coach. I think he's a good play caller at times, but sometimes I really wonder. Like you put in your good coaches, right? Dan Campbell. The one thing with Dan Campbell, he can always get the boys up. Doesn't matter who's out there, he can get the boys up. And you look across the league, Kevin O'Connell. I mean, with the Vikings, look what he's done with Sam Darnold in this offense and the rest of this team right now with Brian Flores, leading that defense. They've been fantastic. Look what Andy Reid's been able to do consistently. I get it, he has Patrick Mahomes. But if you take Andy Reid away from Patrick Mahomes, I don't know. I don't know if you get the same consistency. Now, it's not saying I'm not trying to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid's a heck of a head coach. Heck of a head coach. Sean McVay, heck of a head coach. I don't know about McDermott sometimes up there with the Bills, but I mean, he has his moments. But I look across and it's like even Sirianni with the Eagles, what he did to bring them back together, right? He's a loudmouth dude, likes to get into it with the crowd and everything like that. We know that. But he brought that team back together, right? A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts weren't friends. We knew that. They were having problems. I don't know what fixed it, but it got fixed. It got fixed. Nobody wavered. It got fixed. It's just Matt LaFleur to me right now, he hasn't lost the team. I don't think that he lost the team at all. I just don't know if these guys are getting up ready to go and the game plan is the right one. I don't know that.
It's the same thing I'll say about like the Steelers last night. Are they playing for Mike Tomlin? Are they playing for Matt LaFleur? Like that's the thing, right? Like are they? I'm not saying that he lost them, but does he move the needle? Because like that was the whole thing with Sirianni when they went down. I think 6 out of the last 7 or 7 of the last 8 last season, right? It was like okay, well, and ultimately it's gonna come down to players too, like. You or I could have like we could be like Bill Belichick and we could coach the Packers, but if the players don't like, if there's bad vibes in the locker, like they're all human beings, right? let's say Jordan Love, and this is hypothetical, right? But Jordan Love's cool with like Josh Jacobs, but like the whole receiving core, he kind of like shuns to the side. He's like, those guys are like whatever. I don't care about those guys. Like we don't know. I'm not saying that's the case, but we don't know what goes on. Like when a team comes like we've seen like the Diamondbacks in baseball go in and beat the Phillies, right? Like, and no one thought they had a chance. Like when teams gel, they have the biggest potential. Like, and there's so many layers to it's like cutting open an onion. Like, is it Jordan Love's kind of injured? Is it Jordan Love's like, mentally not there? Is it Matt LaFleur? But you got to at least look at it. You got to at least address the elephant in the room. Like, is this guy making the team better, worse, or the same? Like, like at some point, it's a results-based business. We can say, oh, the Eagles are better than the Packers on paper. It's the way it looks, right? It's the way that and it's the way it goes down week after week, mistakes after mistake, like when it's consistent, right? And like you said, and I don't always want to bring my teams into it, but like when I watch Drew Allar, right, against great teams, he like I do blame the receivers to a certain degree too. So it's literally the same thing as the Packers. That's why I kind of bring this in. It's like I don't trust Penn State's receivers outside of Tyler Warren. None of them show up in big moments. But is it Drew Allar? Like that's the tough thing. Like is it Jordan Love? Like you can't force guys out. Like you can't. You know what I mean? Like is it one of those things where like if you got Drew Allar, the best receiver in the transfer portal, would things change? If you got Jordan Love, the best receiver on the free agent market, would he look different? Would he be more confident? Would he not have to like, I'm going to throw this guy open? Is it that, or is it a Jordan Love problem, or is it a Drew Allar problem? You know what I mean? Like which one? It goes. It's either one or the other. You know what I mean? At some point, you got to say, okay, like Jordan Love's our guy. That's no doubt. It's just how do we get him to like that play? I forget who on the Eagles came after him, and he just threw that one up, and I was like, wow, that was like. Not many guys can make that play. I mean, really.
Yep.
But like then he goes and just throws like balls underthrown, or he's the guy's leading. He's going up the field and he throws it behind it. Like, where's the disconnect? You know what I mean? Where is it? Like, are they not on the same page? Is it like what? That's what you got to get down to the to the crux of the issue. And like, is Matt LaFleur, like I said, is he resignating? And do these guys care what Matt LaFleur says? I mean, there's going to be guys that do, but I don't know if, like I said, when you see a team gelling, like you never know what could, like we talked about, the Packers could come in and win this game. If they were gelling, I think this is a closer game. Like no matter what, I think you see it with the Cowboys a lot. They just look how much talent they have and they just come unglued. It's like, why? What is the reason for it?
And it always seemed like conservative play calling. We're late for a break now, but it always seemed like conservative play calling. And like was it Matt LaFleur didn't trust Jordan Love? Was it injury? What was it? What was causing this problem where the play calling seemed like it was conservative, and it sometimes seemed like it was vanilla, and at other times it was predictable? Like what was the reason for that? And nobody ever asked that question to Matt LaFleur. Why did you go away from the play action? That's what I wanted to know. That's what I kept like. I was like, why? Why is this? Why are we not using the play action? We have Tucker Kraft. I get we don't have a number one wide receiver. It'd be great. Like I'm not saying we shouldn't have one, but what I'm saying is you have Tucker Kraft, you have Josh Jacobs, you have a good run game and a good tight end. I think the tight end room's fine, but it's like, why are you not utilizing what could be a strength? You went completely away from it. I get you want to run the football. I get that, but then you go 3rd and 2 and you're chucking it deep. I don't understand those play calls. So it comes back to, what is Matt LaFleur's trust level? What is the play calling? And there's a lot of questions. I think there's a lot of reflection that needs to happen here going into the offseason, where these guys need to look at themselves and say, what are we doing? They should have been before we had it, before week 18 of the season here. Now, after this playoff game, it should have been before that. But now you're going into year 3. Now the excuses are gone, right? Now the excuses are gone. Now it's on Matt LaFleur, Tom Clemens, the rest of these guys to get in there, figure out these guys, figure out Jordan Love, figure out the consistency of this offense, and then go from there. So we got to get to a break. We're going to get to our ad break. We're going to come back. We got more to get into with the Packers and Eagles game here, more to get in with the Packers. And then we got Badger talk to get to today. We got lots of stuff to talk about. So we'll be back here on the other side of the
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. Next, we have Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood. Have you been injured recently, whether it was at work, shoveling snow, or mowing the lawn? Stop in and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. He will get you right, get you back to work, back to shoveling snow, back to mowing the lawn, doing whatever you were doing, feeling better than ever. And then we have Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Onalaska to help your team get the sweetest gear.
All right, we are back. I don't know what happened there. Kind of like skipped ahead in our ads there for a second. I don't know what was going on there, but we want to talk more about this Packer game. I did see John said in the comments there, would you all sign Chris Godwin to come in free agent next year if he don't resign? I wouldn't hate it. I know he's been banged up, but I wouldn't hate it. We talked about Devontae Adams the other day. We said, what about Adams coming back and just bringing in a veteran into the room? Does that fix your number one problem? I don't know. Adams kind of towards the tail end of his career. Do you go balls to the walls and go after a expensive dude like T. Higgins? I don't know what the Packers will do there. I think they have a lot of glaring weaknesses or a lot of glaring holes, right? I look at the offensive side, running back room, they're good. Offensive line, you could always use depth. We saw that today. They definitely need more depth in that offensive line. The tight end room, I feel like, is fine. I look at Tucker Kraft. I'm like, he's great. I look at Luke Musgrave. He was banged up this year. I think a full season out of him with Tucker Kraft, I like the tight end room. I get out to the wide receiver. They have pieces. They have guys. The problem is that nobody ever took that step forward from last season. You had a bunch of dudes last year. This season, you just had a bunch of dudes again. You didn't have that guy say, I'm going to be that dude. There was no, I'm going to be that dude out of any of these guys. Injury didn't help. Christian Watson, I mean, he had a good year. I thought Christian Watson had a good year, but got hurt again. Probably going to be out next season for a little bit too, if not for the completion of next season. I don't know how bad that knee injury was there, but I mean, Romeo Doubs didn't take that step. Jaden Reed, I thought would take a step, kind of regressed. It's just there wasn't that next step for these guys. So now you go back to the drawing board. You need that guy because I do believe with that number one guy comes the kind of relaxed feeling out of a young quarterback. Jordan Love's still young in his NFL career. So you get that more relaxed feeling. Look at McLaurin with Jane Daniels, watching him right now. Just how much of a safety blanket that adds to a guy, having that kind of weapon, but that kind of safety blanket on you there. You feel good. Even for veterans, look at Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. Like that's a combo right there. I mean, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. It's just, you have that guy, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I don't believe that right now the Packers have that go-to guy, right? They don't have that go-to guy. Like, I could not name on the Packers right now, like, this is the guy where I'm expecting the Packers to dump it to him on a 3rd and short. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, would I say probably Tucker Kraft? Yeah. Like, I'd go to Tucker Kraft, but they haven't consistently. It's like we go away from him. You know, they got in the goal line. I believe it was goal to goal there from the 9. And one of the throws went to Malik Heath, who's wide receiver number 5. And they threw him a little out route. And then they had one in the back of the end zone then to Bo Melton and Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed. Nobody even got a look. 2 straight shots to your number 5 and number 6 receiver. The second throw, the one to Heath, I don't hate that one. That was good. It was just he let him too much. It was a good route. He just let him a little bit too much. The one to Bo Melton in the back of the end zone, that was never going to get caught. I think somebody did the percentage on it, and they said it was like a 2% catch rate, like the catch percentage. Like, the odds were against you. Why not just dump it down? Give it to Tucker Kraft. Let him try to rumble ahead. Get yourself with a 4th and goal from the 2. You got more options then. But now you back yourself up and you're on the 9. Well, it's field goal or bust now. You have to walk away with that. So I hated that play calling, but I definitely do agree with we were talking about it the other day. We didn't know what we agreed with if we thought that they needed that number 1 wide receiver. I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, yeah, we could use that number 1 wide receiver. Like, that's, you got a good back. You got a quarterback who the organization believes in. The fan base might not. The fan base, I'm looking over Twitter right now, and they are just completely like losing their absolute marbles over this right now. Like, 3/4 of them are throwing Jordan Love to the Wolves right now, and the other quarter is saying that Malik Willis should have started the second half. So, I mean, there's still a whole group out there that believes Malik Willis should. And you know what? Honestly, I never I'm not going to say that I thought that they would do it or should do it, but I saw somebody put Malik Willis should come out in the second half, and I looked at the stats and I was like, what could it hurt? Honestly, what could it hurt? Throw a different look at him.
That's my thing. Like you don't want to do it like because this is your franchise guy. Like
Yeah.
I've thought about it too. Like even when Jalen Hurts looked so bad tonight, like even while they were winning, like people were like put McKee in, and I'm like, first of all, this fan base has no appreciation. Like maybe I'm just like the big like there's guys I just kind of like okay I root strongly for that. Like Kenny Pickett's that guy to me. I don't know, like he's not that good. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's like an all time like he fell off from being a starter there in Pittsburgh, but like this fan, like my fan base in particular, they have no respect for Kenny. Like they think he's the worst thing ever. And I'm like, at one point though, when Jalen Hurts was playing bad, I was like, could Kenny Pickett play worse? I mean, really, like honestly, like, and same thing goes like when I don't care who it is, right? Like it could be Josh Allen and he's throwing 4 picks. Like there's certain days where guys don't have it, whether it's injury, whether it's whatever. And like Jordan Love, this was one of those days for him, and you can argue like Jalen Hurts was one of the days for him. It's like I guess you kind of can't do it, but I don't know. I mean, if I knew it wasn't going to ruin his morale, I mean, I at one point I probably would try it. I like for a couple drives, I'm like, what do we have to like? It's win or go home. Like if Jordan Love is so fragile that we can't put another guy in because he's playing bad, that speaks more to like to me. Like that would ignite a fire if I'm Jordan Love. I'm like, look, get that guy back on the sideline. I'm the guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
At some point, I like people are gonna say that's the dumbest thing ever, and this. I mean, when you're not making any progress down the field for the most part, it's like, I don't know. I've always been in the camp of like, let's try something out. Like the Steelers, I think at one point should have put Fields in, but they didn't. Like
they would have thrown a different look in there too. I mean, you would just if it was for like a play or two, right? Just to throw a different look at them where, look at the Steelers, like you said, with Justin Fields. Like just throw a different look where this guy's more than likely going to run, but he has the ability to throw it. And it keeps it in the back of your head, right? It's just that kind of tempo that maybe could have changed this game, got the Packers a couple chunk yard plays. Those little things and we're talking a lot of our butts right now because we're talking about terrible play calling by Matt LaFleur. Why would he can't even call play action. Why would he have drawn up anything crazy like this? But I mean, it's there was times when I was like, yeah, we gotta switch something up in this category. But let's talk about some good. I guess we'll come away with some good. We're not going to recap the complete season tonight here for the Green Bay Packers. Like we'll get into some more off-season talk and what happens from now and everything like that. We'll get into that later on. But let's talk about some good. Let's talk about the defense for the Packers. I mean, for the most part, like we talk about the stats in this one, the Eagles 2 for 11 on third down. 2 for 11 on third down. That's impressive. That is impressive by this Green Bay Packers secondary. Holding, I mean, A.J. Brown didn't have a great day. A.J. Brown had limited targets. Same with Devontae Smith. He had 4 catches, though the catches for Devontae Smith were big catches. He had some big chunk plays. Like that was the backbreaker for him. But I mean, outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot happening with those two in this game. Saquon, 119 yards, but 25 carries to get there. I mean, it wasn't the Packers defense played well. Like this was an all-around effort. Jeff Hafley drew up a good game. We talked about the pressure. We know the pressure for the Packers stinks like it has. I mean, but all in all, your offense came out completely like hot garbage in this game, and you held the Eagles to 10 points in the first half. 10 points. And that was in the first quarter. And the only reason, a big reason why you gave up that touchdown, and I'm not saying a big reason why, but the Eagles started with the ball at what? The 30-yard line? Not even. Like, this was like reverse flip the script on what happened down in Brazil with the Packers starting with the ball down inside Eagles red zone for multiple trips and ended up only coming away with field goals. The Eagles came away with a touchdown, but the Eagles started at the 28-yard line of Green Bay, and they punched it in. And that was, we talked about lack of pressure. Jalen Hurts had like 10 seconds to throw the football on that one, and he just diced him up into the back of the end zone there. But outside of that, look at the rest of these drives. I mean, what are we talking about? The second drive for the Eagles there, 5 plays. Yeah, 5 plays and a punt. The third drive was a field goal. The fourth drive was 3 plays and a punt. The fifth drive was 3 plays and a punt. 3 plays and a punt at the end of the first half there. I mean, just the defense found ways to get off the field, and they played well. Quay Walker played well. Edgerrin Cooper, that dude's going to be a star. I love watching Edgerrin Cooper play. He flies out of the backfield there. And actually, the most impressive tackle I saw tonight for this game was Javian Bullard. When he blew by and they little dump pass off to Saquon going over the sideline there. And Javian Bullard kind of blew past and just took him himself. I mean, that was an impressive open field tackle against a very impressive runner in Saquon Barkley. Like, I did not see that. That was a great tackle. So that was one of my favorite plays there. But Edgerrin Cooper taking Saquon Barkley down a couple times there. Saquon was close to busting out some runs. And Edgerrin Cooper was right there on the edge to slow him up there. And, the Eagles' offensive line played well. Saquon, I'm not saying that Saquon didn't have a good day. Saquon definitely had a good day at the office, like 119 yards. Don't shake your head at that any day of the week. But the Packers, for the most part, we talked about it in the preview, right? We said the Eagles, they're going to beat you, right? Saquon's going to beat you. You can slow him down, but you can't stop him. He's going to beat you. But what can you do? You can contain the rest of the weapons, right? A.J. Brown, 1 catch for 10 yards. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 55 yards. Dallas Goedert, 4 catches, 47 yards. Jawan Dotson, 1 catch, 11 yards. You did your job. You slowed down Saquon. You didn't stop him. You're not going to. You slowed him down. He was averaging 4.8 yards per carry. That's pretty darn good, but you slowed him down. The rest of the guys, you did your job. They did exactly what they needed to do to win this football game. It's just at the end of the day, how many times did the Packers shoot themselves in the foot? Too many. Too many to count. And when you're playing a good team like the Eagles, a great team, I would say a great team. I thought honestly going into the playoffs, they were the most complete team. When you're going on the road and playing a team like that, you can't afford mistakes. Not a boatload of mistakes if you want to win that football game, especially with the inconsistency that the Packers had coming in. And when you have 8 penalties for 85 yards and you have 4 turnovers on top of that, that's tough. That's tough. That's tough for anybody to win a football game. And the Eagles just did the little things better than the Green Bay Packers. No turnovers. One less penalty, but no turnovers in this one, and just capitalized on situations that they were given. The Packers set them up in good field position, and they capitalized, and that was your difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was one of the worst, in my personal opinion, one of the worst games the Eagles have played all year. I just thought, on offense especially, I just felt like they had no rhythm. It felt like. And sometimes I look at everybody's like, oh, Kellen Moore is some genius. Sometimes I look at that guy and I'm like, I don't get it. Some of the things I don't. I mean, that's everybody, right? We can go down, but I don't think he's some guru. When they had Shane Steichen a couple of years ago, I was like, man, that guy can just I know he hasn't had that much success there in Indy, but as a play caller, I'm like, that guy is elite to me. So that, unfortunately, making it about the Packers there. That kind of plays into your hand too. It's like they played a bad game and still it felt close. I mean, at one point I wasn't I think it was 16-10. I was like, oh man, Eagles could, mess around and find out. They really could. And I've seen it, but every team I ever root for does that, it seems like. So I was like, you never know. If the Packers get a drive down the field and they're up by 1 because Jake Elliott can't make a freaking extra point, but which that's a whole different. I mean, he banged home some kicks from 30, 40 plus. But I don't know. Verdict's still out on him this season. But I just thought, the fact that the Eagles played almost down to how the Packers, in my opinion, it's kind of they didn't have that kill shot. And when they did the fake Philly special or Philly special, fake tush push, I should say, and threw it. Yep. I'm like, how that's when I look at Hurts dude, you got to hit those. He had steps behind the Packers, and it's AJ Brown. So of course AJ Brown then pulls a book out and he's reading on this. This team's never 100. You can never trust this team 100% without some chaos or just some dumb stuff happening. But that's if I'm a Packers fan, I'm like, look, man, we didn't face the best Eagles team today, and we still looked it's the way it looks, right? It's the eye test.
Yep.
Like that's how I always. That's why I'm critical of the Steelers. It's the eye. It's watching them and watching this Packers team today. It's like, are they locked? Are they locked in? Are they really like? Because you talked about those like pre-snap penalties, and then like after the plays are over, they're trying to mug people. Like I get it. Trust me. I respect the fact that they have that passion, right? Like they have the heart because they're like, these guys, the Eagles are pissing us off. We want to go, we want to knock them down after the play. I get that. Like, trust me, there's been times I'm watching the Eagles and I want them to do that here and there, but it just, you never felt like the Packers had a consistent rhythm. And like the Eagles really didn't either, but it was like eventually I think the Eagles were going to wear them down, which I thought happened. But, you brought it up too. I probably wouldn't have went away from Josh Jacobs there nearly as much. Like it went full on like pass happy, and like the Eagles kind of sat back and said, okay, beat us. You know what I mean? Like do that. And if you mix in that run, I think you at least have more success. I know they gave him like 25 carries or so, but it just felt like in the second half he was an afterthought for sure.
Let's see. Jacobs, 18 carries. They did have 25 carries in total, but I mean, you got 2 for Tucker Kraft in there, so that doesn't really count.
Right.
That was the Packers tush push, their version of the tush push. I love that with Kraft. Just
it was
getting
working,
him under center, and they had that one where I think he busted it off for like 8 yards or something like that. Like he was grinding. I mean, it was a heck of a play, but all in all, I mean, it comes down to the inconsistency of this team, and it's just they leave a lot to be desired week in and week out in these big games. And it's the big games, right? It's these games. It's the Packers and the Eagles. You went 0-2 against the Eagles, 0-2 against the Lions, and 0-2 against the Vikings. And every single game, you left so much to be desired in those games. And looking back on them, it's like, what hurt you, right? Because I don't look at those games and say that the Eagles were, I mean, they're better. I think the Eagles are a better team. Like they have more stars. I agree. But on this night, you cannot tell me that the Eagles were the most deserving team, right? They did not play that great in their own right. If they played a clean game, like they probably would have blown the Packers out by 30. Like it wouldn't even have been a ball game. But Packers defense stepped up, did their thing. It's just the offense once again comes out stale. Same with that game against the Lions twice. I mean, you talk about that game against the Lions where they were down early big and then they had to come back. Vikings down early big, had to come back. I mean, multiple times where they had to come back in these games. And also, that first game, you had a missed field goal. You had a missed field goal in this game here against the Eagles, where McManus has been just, I mean, we talk about it all the time. We're like, this dude's money. He's like so consistent. Goes into this game, misses a field goal. You're talking about a completely different landscape than if it's 16-13 instead of 16-10. Now, I'm not saying that was a chip shot field goal by any means, but what was the miss from? I wanted to double check on that. Where was that miss from?
Let me see.
It wasn't too. Oh, right here. Let's see here. The miss was from 38. It's not a chip shot, but it's got to be a chip shot, especially in moments like this. It's got to be a chip shot. Because if you look last year at that game against the 49ers, Anders Carlson missed that field goal. And it would have gave that Packers team a little extra boost in that one. Would have actually made him give him a bigger lead at the time. So all those things come back to bite. And then also, John does come in and he brings this up all the time to me because he's completely right. Love had 60 yards with 5 minutes to go in the game against the Vikings. It's the adjustment period, right? And that's where it comes back to Matt LaFleur. He talked about it after that Vikings game. He said, well, I didn't expect him to come out with so much man, right? I didn't expect so much man defense. So it took you 3.5 quarters to figure out that they were in man defense and adjust to it and call the offense. Like, why did it take so long for you to adjust to this? So, I mean, it's just all those little things that come back to there has got to be a lot of questions that are answered in this offseason. And I think it's going to come back to also, Gutekunst has got to walk in there and say, Matt, dude, love you. Love what you can do for this team. Love what you got for this team. But, hey, you've made it to the playoffs. But now it's time we take that next step because we can't keep finding excuses of we're too young. We're too young to do this. We're too young to be there. We're the youngest team in the playoffs. Great. You were the youngest team last year. I saw that stat. It's like, oh, this is the second youngest team in history in the NFL or in the playoffs in NFL history. What was the youngest? Oh, last year's Packer team. It's like, who cares? Who cares? Like, I get they're young. I understand that. But after a while, that excuse has to go away. Jordan Love is now going to be in year 3. Josh Jacobs is experienced. These receivers are experienced. Tucker Kraft, the offensive line. Edgerrin Cooper is going to be a year older. Quay Walker's a couple years older. Like, all these guys are going to have experience. So we cannot use that excuse anymore. It cannot be that we're young. It has to be, why are we not developing? Why are we not taking the next step? Why are we not getting there? And if it's the players, fine. Then find new players. Then find different guys to fit those spots. If you don't think it's the players, if you think that you've drafted right, if you think that your guys can develop right, then where does your silver lining have to come? Where is that guy when you look in your locker room? Where's the problem? Where is that problem? Is it you don't have a leader, right? Is it there isn't a guy to get him rallied up? Is there not a leader in the locker room? Is there not a leader in the huddle? Or do you got to start at the top? Is there not a leader who's bringing them into each game, which would be Matt LaFleur? Because like we said, getting guys prepared is it's during the week. It's not on Sunday. It's not on Sunday. You can only get guys so prepared on Sunday. It starts during the week. How fired up can you get them for that weekend game? Listen to Dan Campbell talk to his guys during practice and talk to them about hitting each other and talk to them about getting them prepared for that game coming up on Sunday. It's during the week. It's Bill Belichick during the week. It's Sean McVay during the week. Kyle Shanahan, whatever good coach you want to look at, they don't just do it on Sunday. It's during the week. Does Matt LaFleur get the boys ready to go during the week? That's my biggest question. Because when I look at these games, and I look at this game once again, where it's like you weren't prepared. And I look, at the end of that first half there, when I believe that was the one where they threw that craptastic pick to Zach Bond across the middle. Was that drive? Yes.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was hustling. It was hustling, right? They're taking so long and they're getting in the huddle and they're taking so long. You had 3 timeouts. Why did you not burn one? To just settle Jordan Love down, right? Settle him down. Just settle the offense down. You had 3 timeouts. You have all the timeouts in the world, right? You have 40 when he threw that pick or when they snapped that ball there. He had an incomplete pass on the play before that to Chris Brooks. And then after that, he threw the pick. Why not just call timeout? Settle the boys down. You have 3 timeouts. You don't get to take them home with you. They don't carry over the second half. Burn it. Just burn it and set up something. Don't do a quick play call like, hey, boys, let's hold on. Let me put the play sheet in front of my mouth here. Hey, let's no, like, use your timeout. That irritates me sometimes. Is like they're so rushed. They're like trying to move the ball fast. They're trying to rush. It's like, call timeout. Just relax them. Just relax the boys. Because nothing is going to relax that offense more than if Matt LaFleur is face-to-face with Jordan Love. Then if he's talking directly to him and saying, like, hey, we're good. We're good. Let's set up something simple, right? Josh Jacobs, he's able to talk to Jordan Love. The receivers are able to talk it out. Tucker Kraft, whoever, the offensive line, right? A couple plays before that, Glover had an offensive holding call. So it gives you that time where you're able to talk it out, to slow the game down. You have 3 timeouts and all the time in the world to get yourself into field goal range. And you couldn't even get yourself into field goal range. That's what it just hurts. Like, game management is a problem. Game management is a problem for Jordan Love. Not for Jordan Love. Well, not for Jordan Love, for Matt LaFleur. Sorry about that. Game management is a problem for Matt LaFleur. Like, that hurts scares me a little bit when I think about that. Like, my head coach has issues with the clock. And that's like not Eberflus problems with the clock, but there's problems. And I don't feel the urgency at times of Green Bay either. I don't feel, Jordan Love's getting the guys up and he's like, we got to go, right? Because when this drive started, when the Packers had this drive start, there was 3 minutes and 25 seconds left on the clock in the second quarter. When they threw that pick and they had just gotten to Philly's 48-yard line, there was 45 seconds left in the first half. It took you that long to set up a drive, to walk. I mean, what? I'm trying to do the math here in my head. We got 20 yards here, and then another, 20 yards to get across, so 40 yards? It took you that long to pop off 40 yards to get across midfield and get yourself close to field goal range, that's urgency. That's getting the boys up. That's getting them ready. That's getting moving, right? And that's why I'm saying in that time, why do you not burn a timeout? Yes, the 2-minute warning happened in there, but from the 2-minute warning until that interception, you ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays counting the interception. You ran 5 plays counting the interception. And when that interception happened, there's 45 seconds left on the clock. First play happened with 2 minutes. Second play with 1:52. The third play of the drive. On 3rd and 3, you ran that thing with 1:15 left in the quarter. So you ran it down from 1:52 to 1:15. That tells you how much time you just burned off the clock. That's the difference between, and okay, let's say they do advance it in the field goal range, right? Great. You came away with the field goal at the end of the half. Those 40 seconds are the difference between a touchdown to end the first half and momentum shifter to a field goal and you're down 10-3. That's the difference. That's the difference between winning on the road and losing on the road, right? We talk about it multiple times this season with the Packers. Was going into halves, coming out of halves, the consistency, being able to put teams away, being able to put consistent efforts together. We talked about it so many times. And yet we keep seeing it rear its ugly head over and over again there. Let's see. John says, who do you trust more, LaFleur or Mike Daniel? Or does quarterback make that much of a difference? I think quarterback does make a difference. I would say quarterback makes a difference. I don't like Mike McDaniel. I don't like Mike McDaniel. After watching what that Dolphins team was this season, and now Tyreek's like gone, and Tua, when he was out, the offense just looked completely lost. Like, I don't trust Mike McDaniel at all. And also, John says, if Green Bay doesn't get 9 wins next year, LaFleur will be fired. All right. Making a bold prediction there is John. You know what? I can't say that you're wrong. If Green Bay doesn't get to 9 wins with this team, with Jordan Love, your franchise quarterback, and I mean, there's, like we talked about before, there's glaring weaknesses, right? You got to get a pass rush. You got to find pass rushers. You got to find guys for that for that secondary, because that cornerback room is thin. They are thin. Wide receiver, yes. Running back room, you're fine. Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd will be back from injury. You got to get some depth on that offensive line, but outside of that, I mean, there's no excuses. Like, you cannot make the youth excuse next year. You can't make any excuse. Like, you have to go out and win football games. That's plain and simple. Like, you have to find a way to win football games. So we're going to get back to that, Aaron. We're going to get back to that. We're past our last ad break here, so we got to get to our ad break. We'll come back. I'll let Aaron talk about that last comment there from John there. We'll get to the Badgers, maybe wrap it up with a little Packers here, and then we'll hit the road for the night here. So we'll be back on the other side of the ad break.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Marshfield Motor Speedway, located 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great racing. I cannot think of a better way to spend a summer day or night than down at the track. Next is Sports Scene in Marshfield, Wisconsin, located at the Marshfield Mall. Get down there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sports cards, memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports Scene in Marshfield. And then we have Peggy Sue Beslick, Century 21. Do you want to find your dream home, or maybe looking to sell your current property? Let Peggy Sue Beslick at Century 21 help you with all of your housing or property needs.
New year, Aaron. Like I always say, buy, sell. That's what you got to do. Get out of that craptastic house or get into a new one. That's what you got to do this time of year. So make sure you're talking to Peggy Sue there. Aaron, I mean, I've talked about a lot. We've talked about a lot. Anything else you got to add on to the end of this first, I guess, segment of the Packer Talk here? Anything else you got to add on there from what you saw from this team in this one?
Yeah, I just, they don't look inspired. I'll put it that way. I think we've kind of, we're kind of shooting at a horse a million times on that one, but it's, I don't know. I don't know if it's lack of, like, we kind of alluded to it before, I remember when they had, like, Clay Matthews, when they had, I mean, and you're talking about, like, Hall of Fame caliber guys or like
Charles Woodson and the boys.
Right. Like,
yep.
I like I said, I'm not trying to make this about, like, now I'm talking about the Steelers out the wazoo, but it's like, I look at these two teams kind of eerily, like, not similar to a T, but like just in glaring ways. It's like, who is the Steelers leader, right? Who is the Packers leader? Who was the guy that, like, when the Packers were like the Packers to me, obviously like the Favre days, that's one thing. But even with Rodgers, like AJ Hawk, Clay Matthews, like what was it, Bijan Raji or something?
Yep, BJ
Like
Raji.
they had guys you could like circle on their team that like that's a dog, that guy is a problem. Like now it's like they're just like, and I'm not going to take anything away from their defense. I will be honest, I do think the Eagles played like down or just like not. They just were not like they're not. This was a crappy version of what the Eagles' offense is. But give them credit. Like the Packers made plays when they had to too. So like I'm not going to like take that away. The Packers don't. This is where I'll end it. They don't have like an identity to me. They don't have like yes, they can play the run game with Josh Jacobs. Yes, they can do it with Jordan Love. But it like week in and week out, we talked about it down the stretch. They just don't have that like no one's really. They don't strike fear into other teams right now.
I got it. I got exactly what you're trying to say. They have a bunch of guys, and they have to play perfect to win a game. They
to win a game against
win against a good team,
right?
They have to play perfect A through Z. But the Eagles, they have a bunch of dudes, and then a bunch of guys. And when you got that, you could put together a craptastic performance, still win a football game. And that's what we saw. That's what we saw in this one.
No, you're exactly right. And are we going to take the guys that are in this building and make them those dudes? And do we have like you said, do we have the personnel in place to make these guys those type of dudes? Like, I'm not even saying like AJ Brown level, like just up a notch. Like if everybody goes, progression, like we talked about with Jordan Love, is he progressing? Is he regressing? Like that comes down to coaching too. Like coaching, and like we can talk about basketball, we can talk about hockey, baseball, it doesn't matter. Football, like coaching is essential in football. Like, I think if Sirianni had like really poor coordinator, like if they were, middle of the pack to like down towards the bottom, like I don't think he's regarded as a good coach. You know what I mean? Like he might motivate the boys to a certain degree, but they have a lot of guys in there that like I think bringing in Saquon was huge for like the locker room. He's a guy that's like he's the guy that would own the company, but he's sweeping the floor. Like he's the type of guy where you have that, and like Sirianni by himself, who knows? Like we saw that team be completely unraveled. So that's the thing. Like I don't know. Like even like when they brought in Saleh for that, like that type of. I'm not saying bring him as your head coach, but like somebody like a Rex Ryan. If you had a Rex Ryan as a DC, like there'd be no BS. Like I'm not saying these names are the people you go out and get, but bring in like players that have that and like coach, like even if they're assistants, like bring those type of people in the room.
Bring Saleh in. You can bring him in. Like right now, Pasaccia, that piece of garbage, like special teams gets fixed and then it's complete horseshit again. I mean, bringing Saleh as a special teams coordinator, how could it get worse? Like, what has Pasaccia done that Saleh couldn't do for you? Like, bring him in as a special teams coordinator, because that's what
you know what I mean, though? Like change the culture. Like change the
I agree. That's what let me see here. I was trying to, what the heck was I just right here? It is. It's Rick Bisaccia. That's what it is. Bisaccia. I always call him Bisaccia. But he's assistant head coach too. So like bring in Saleh. Let him be I don't even care. Let him be the special teams coordinator, because guess what? Bisaccia's special teams, how'd they perform today? First kickoff was the fumble. Second one was a holding call. And then you had the missed field goal there. I mean, the special teams has not been that much better anyways. Who cares? Get rid of him. He's always been like this. I don't even know. I've always disliked him. Put Saleh in there, promote him to your assistant head coach or a co-head, whatever you want to call him there, with Matt LaFleur. Let LaFleur just take care of your offense. Let Saleh take care of all the personnel work and get boys ready to rock and roll. And I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it at all. Like that's the way to do it. Because right now it's the question of, is Matt LaFleur enough to get the boys up, right? I think they have players in that room. You mentioned it before about like, do they believe guys could be guys? Like we've talked about Edgerrin Cooper before. I think that dude is going to be a star. I do. Tucker Kraft, I think he can be a star. They have some guys on the offensive line who are pretty darn good. Looking at the defense, Carrington Valentine, he's people hate on that guy a lot. I think he's had moments, and I think he's looked a lot better. So I like what Valentine's been able to prove. Evan Williams has been great. Bullard, for a rookie, you can't keep flipping him from slot to safety like it's his job. Like, he's all over the place. He's nickel, and then they're just keep moving this guy all over the place. They're like, yeah, he'll figure it out. It's like he's a rookie. Like, we can't be. But, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? Guys are getting banged up. You got to do what you got to do. But I think Bullard could be a pretty good player in there. You got McKinney. You're gonna have money to spend. Right? I think they're going to release Jair. I think they're going to let him go. So you're going to have about $8 million to spend there, saving on Jair. David Bakhtiari's contract comes off the books here pretty soon. I think he comes off. You're going to have a couple other guys. You're going to have money to spend. And it's just like, where do you spend it now? So I would, Salah's going to the Patriots. I don't know. You think he wants to work underneath of Vrabel?
I
don't know about that one.
I'm not
that
gonna
would
lie.
be a bold group of dudes right there.
I was gonna, and like literally that guy John there, he read my mind too, because I was thinking the whole culture thing, right? The Patriots move on, and I'm not saying that Mayo should have got fired, but something about maybe saw Robert Kraft's like impatient or whatever, but maybe he thought, hey, the culture's messed up here. Like
what would Saleh do though? What would he do with the Patriots? Because Vrabel is going to call the defense. I wouldn't see Vrabel not taking it. So what's Saleh's job then? Like, he's not calling an offense.
Like we're having that conversation about LaFleur though. If you bring in like a let's just say solid type guy, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And like he's in the build, like maybe that pushes maybe Matt LaFleur by himself with like let's just say so coordinators isn't the guy. But like I think I think the same way about Sirianni. Without like great, like we saw Sirianni with Shane Steichen, the offense looked amazing. Nick Sirianni started calling plays. The offense looked like Madden coach suggestions every 4 plays. It's like a joke.
I think Matt LaFleur should play more Madden. When I watch him, I'm like, this dude should play more Madden. Like, clock management, I feel like I manage the clock better on Madden than he does in real life. Like, I get real life to fake, but I mean, man, oh man, he could use some Madden time. Him and Marcus Freeman could ball out together on Madden. I did hear that Marcus Freeman plays college football. He plays it to get because you can like his boys will tell him he can scout other teams with that. So he'll play college football with his boys out there. John did say earlier, because I want to get to Badgers tonight here. I want to talk about this Badger Ohio State game. We got to get to that. John did say I got a take on the NBA, and if y'all are talking NBA tonight, something that could help with the ratings. John, give it to us. Give it to us. Let us know what you think is going to help with the ratings in the NBA, because I am intrigued. You don't have to ask. Just shoot your comments in there. Anybody else out there in the comments tonight too? Like, let us know what you're thinking. Packers, Eagles. Let us know what you think about the Badgers. Whatever you want to talk about, let us know in the comment section. We'd love to get to you guys there. But Aaron, I want to talk about this Badger team real fast, because I don't want to miss this game here. Badgers got that big win against Minnesota. Not huge, but we didn't get to talk about it. I didn't get time to watch. It was a hectic Friday. I wasn't able to watch, so I said we'd talk about it coming out of this one here. Steven Crowell, that dude continues to play well for this Badger team right now. And it's been ever since Greg Gard lit him a new one. It's been ever since that press conference, right? We talked about it after that game against Illinois where he had no rebounds. And Greg Gard's like, no rebounds, he's got to play better, right? He said it point blank. He's got to play better. And I had the quote here from Greg Gard. We're gonna pull it up there. Let's see here. Right there. He said, I'm going to be honest with you. They know that. They know I love them. I got their back for the rest of life. I always tell them, until they shovel dirt on me, I'm with you. And that was after, they mentioned about him calling out Steven Crowell after that game against Illinois. And I love that. I love that for the simple fact of Steven Crowell didn't roll over and just say, oh, my coach hates me. Oh, no, I'm just going to enter the transfer portal like everybody else does nowadays. No, he didn't do that. He came out, and look what he's done over the past games here, Aaron. Since then, he scored 18 points and had 6 rebounds against Butler, 15 points and 4 rebounds against Detroit Mercy, 14 points and 7 rebounds against Iowa, 18 points, 10 rebounds against Rutgers in that 5-game win streak. And then you look at this game here against Minnesota, and he added on another total of 18 points and 5 rebounds against Minnesota. So you're talking about in that stretch, this guy has been putting up big-time numbers in scoring and big-time numbers in the rebound department for you. I love that. I love that his answer was not to roll over. His answer wasn't to cry. His answer was, all right, coach says I'm sucking. I'm going to step up and I'm going to do it. And he has. And when he starts playing well, it makes the Badgers that much better. If you can get a good Steven Crowell and you have John Tonje and you have John Blackwell and you have when Max Klesmit comes back, Kamari McGee, Nolan Winter, when you have your stars already balling out and you add a good Steven Crowell into that mix, good luck. Good luck to other teams. I mean, that's like you already you got to stop these guards on the outside, right? But now you got to stop the post. So now you got 3 levels of scoring that you got to look out for. And it's not just the scoring with Steven Crowell. It's the distribution of the basketball with Steven Crowell. It's the 3 assists here against Minnesota that you love. The ability that he has to dump it off to cutters, the ability he has to scan the floor and see the open shooters. It's those things with Steven Crowell. When he plays well, the Badgers play well. So I love what I've seen out of Steven Crowell as of late here. The defense is starting to come around. Over their last 3 games there, teams are averaging only 69 points against them per game. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that game against Minnesota, I mean, for that first half, the offense was not clicking whatsoever. Offense was cold. I mean, they had 30 points in total in that first half. That's low for the Badgers, but you held Minnesota down to 29 points. And a lot of that was because of Xavier Amos coming off the bench there. 22 minutes. You look at the stats, only 4 points. But defensively, this guy was a spark plug on Dawson Garcia, because on that night, the only guy from Minnesota that was going to beat you was Dawson Garcia. And Xavier Amos came in, and Dawson Garcia went 0 against him. And I saw a lot of people say, well, Greg Gard just saw Minnesota as this crap team, and that's why Xavier Amos got all these minutes, and that's why Gilmore was having a rough night. Gilmore was sick. He had a date with the Porcelain Throne that day before playing in that game. He was having a rough night. So, let's all leave Gilly out of this one. He's fine. He played 7 minutes, but he was sick. Xavier Amos stepped up, and that's what you love. You had 2 guys, right? Kamari McGee inserted in the starting rotation because Max Klesmit was out, played 33 minutes of action in this one. 33 minutes of action. 5 for 10 from the floor, 3 for 4 from downtown. He had 15 points in his first start with the Badgers. I love that. And then a guy like Xavier Amos coming off the bench there for 22 minutes, giving you big-time minutes against Dawson Garcia. Just a great performance out of a couple of just dudes, right? You got to have dudes. We were talking about before. You got to have dudes and you got to have stars. These are the dudes stepping up for you. And Aaron, Kamari McGee, 57% from 3 on the season. 57% from 3 on the season. I love that stat. I just love that stat when I read that. Just 57% is nothing but impressive. So Kamari McGee stays hot from the perimeter, and he's got to be, he's got to be up there in percentage in the league right now. He probably doesn't have the amount of attempts as a lot of other guys, but this guy's been shooting at a hot clip, and I love it. Outside of that, no Klesmit, but by committee, they found ways to stave off the slow start, take care of the problems, and get the job done. And I love to see that. I love to see that. In the past, without stars on the floor, the Badgers have struggled, right? One guy goes out and the whole world blows up. This one here, they just didn't blink an eye. Next guy up, right? Next guy steps in, takes care of business. That was Kamari McGee. So I love that ability that they had in this one here. Outside of all of that, like I was talking about the defense, if the defense comes along with this offense, I love the potential of this Badger team. I do. I love the potential. Defensively, we've talked about it. That's their biggest problem. They go into games, they score 80 points, they lose 85-80. What can they do to better themselves defensively? They've been getting better, right? We talked about the last 3 games there, keeping guards in front of them, stopping the cutters. It's the little things with this Badger team right now, the discipline on that court, and they've been getting better, which is what Greg Gard's been harping on them for, so I'd love to see that there. So Badgers get the big win against Minnesota there. They're going to be back in action now, coming up here, I believe on Tuesday there. The 14th would be Tuesday. Taking on Ohio State on Peacock, because we love Peacock, so they're going to be on Peacock there. Ohio State coming into this one 10-6, 2-3 in conference play. Notable games so far for Ohio State. They had a win against Texas by 8. They beat Kentucky by 20. That's an impressive win there by Ohio State. They have losses to Texas A&M, Michigan State, Pitt by 1, which is a similar opponent to what Wisconsin had. They've also played Pitt. Oregon by 2, and then Auburn, they lost 91-53. I didn't feel like doing the math for that one, so I put 91-53 because I didn't feel like doing the math, so I left it at that. Outside of that, just looking at some of the notables, right? I want to look at some of the key guys to this Ohio State Buckeyes team Bruce Thornton, the guard there, 17.1 points per game, 4.4 assists, 53% from the field and 43% from three. He's the main cog in the engine. He's like that spark plug. You can't make it run without him. Like that's the dude. That's the dude that you got to watch out for. So Bruce Thornton is going to be the guy where you got to watch out for him. That's where I'm watching here for this Badger team is what can they do to slow down Bruce Thornton in this one? I don't know, right? It's the tough, tall task that these guards are going to have for the Badgers there. So I'm looking at Bruce Thornton and saying the Badgers got to play well on him. Devin Royal, the forward there, 13 points per game for him, 7 rebounds, 54% from the field. And then John Mobley Jr., 12 points a game, 41% from the field and 42% from downtown there. So those are some of the notable guys. The depth is pretty good for Ohio State. They're willing to go about 9 deep on the bench there. Give some guys some pretty good minutes there. So they're going to be well rested. They're going to look like a pretty solid, formidable team here. As a team, 37% from three, 72% from the free throw line, 48% from the field, 11 turnovers per game, 7 steals per game. They're 8th in points per game at 81.1, 4th in 3 points. This is all in the Big Ten. 4th in 3-point percentage, 6th in field goal percentage there, 10th in free throw, 11th in rebounds, and 8th in turnovers there. They want to turn you over. They want to turn you over. They want to get out and run. They want to be able to take the ball away from you. So big thing for the Badgers, play smart, play consistent. You'll be fine in this one here. Get the bigs going. Take care of the paint, take care of the glass. Those are things we talk about every time with this Badger team. Control the rebounding, control the glass, control the offensive glass. You'll be fine in this one here. Keep the guards in front of you. I'm talking Bruce Thornton. I'm talking John Mobley. Those guys can get downhill. They can get to the rim. They can shoot it from the outside. Keep those guys in front of you and keep them underneath control in this game here. Also, Mobley's the guy. I mean, he takes a lot of threes. So if you're talking about a guy where you got to watch out for him from downtown, Mobley's the guy you got to be watching out for. And then teams against Ohio State, they're shooting about 29% from three and 39% from the field. So, I mean, they pretty well up defensively. So you're going to have your work cut out for you trying to score points against this Ohio State team as they only give up about 71.1 points per game on the season there. This is a good team. This is a good team in Ohio State. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Badgers here. It is at the Kohl Center. Should be a little bit better there. But, Aaron, anything else you're seeing about this matchup here before we get to John's ways to fix the ratings in the NBA?
Not really a lot else on what you said. I mean, I think this will be a good – like this is a good – we talk about some of the tests that Wisconsin – Pitt was going to be a test. Countless others, right? But I think – this is one of those games like you're getting them at home. Like we were kind of a little bit worried about the Rutgers matchup, right? They're a sneaky team. This is like now you're taking a step up a notch, right? Like from a Rutgers team to a better caliber Ohio State team. And like, don't get me wrong, I will always pull for Wisconsin 7 out of 7 times and twice on Sundays against Ohio State. I don't care, but. No, it'll be interesting. I mean, Ohio State with the small favored by 2. That's really that's close. That's real close. So yeah, I'm just looking for, like you said, I hope Stephen Crowl comes out and just balls out too. Like just the fact that he the coach, he gets called out and basically ever since then he's crashing like that game against Rutgers. I think you mentioned 10 boards. I mean, there's games 4, 6, that type of thing, but seeing that, and I'm not going to say some of the guys on the other side that might play into it, but just coming out at home at the Kohl Center, you know what, you might be Ohio State, the Ohio State, right, as I like to say,
the Ohio State.
But we don't care. We're the Badgers, right? You know what I mean? So just take it to them, right? I just want it high energy from the tip and just see what it can happen. You know what I mean? See, maybe Tanjay goes off. We haven't really seen Tanjay go off in recent time. Maybe this
is a hot minute. It's been a hot minute since we've seen Tanjay have a burner of a game. It's due. Right? Is it? Are you calling it, Aaron? Are you calling it Tanjay to have a burner?
I watch. I'll say that and I'll score 6. That would be some horrible prediction, but no, yeah, why not? It's been a little bit. He at home too. College sports atmosphere is just a lot.
I like it.
It's fun. So yeah, maybe he'll heat up and just start banging him from 3. He's fun to watch. I do enjoy some Tanjay for sure.
When he gets around the rim, just some of the stuff he can do around the rim is nothing but impressive. And you know what? It rings true. everybody's like, Greg Gard this and Greg Gard that. If you want to look at what Greg Gard can do as a head coach for a basketball team, everybody, or a head coach of a player in that standpoint, everybody go take a look at the guy by the name of AJ Storr, who decided that he was too good for Madison and he wanted to take money and go to Kansas, because you should look at this guy's numbers right now. Right now in 15 games, he's averaging 6.8 points per game with Kansas.
Not great.
Not great at all. He's going to Kansas to up his draft stock because he wasn't going to be able to do it in Madison. Well, guess what, buddy? You look like complete hot garbage down there. Last season with the Badgers, 16 points per game. This season with Kansas so far, 6.8. There's your difference. Greg Gard, for as much as people want to hate on him, and a lot of people do, look what he's been able to do with Johnny Davis, who's now in the G League technically, but he was with Wisconsin there. You look at what he's been able to do with AJ Storr last season with that 16 points a game, and then you look what he's doing with John Tonje now, and even a guy like John Blackwell. I don't know what it is. You can call it, he's not a good developer. You can call it whatever you want. But what I know is these guys fit his system, and they worked in his system, and he made them work. And he went out and he recruited them because they were going to work in his system, and he got the best out of them. And that's what you love. John Tonje is a prime example of that, because before he came to Madison, everybody was like, John Tonje who? Now it's like, that dude's one of the best players in the Big Ten. And you can write that home. There's a lot of good players in the Big Ten. Like, don't get me wrong. He's not top of the Big Ten, but he's one of the top players in the Big Ten.
Is he NBA? Because you know your basketball a lot better than me. Like, is he at that level?
No.
See, that's hard to believe, like, because you watch him and you're like, dang, this guy can, like, he can.
I think he could develop to that, but I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that yet. He's a 3-level scorer, but I don't think he's consistent enough to be that 3-level scorer. Like when Johnny Davis left Wisconsin, Johnny Davis was a good player. He was a good player. I just thought he was a higher volume shooter. Took a lot of shots, scored a lot of points, but it took a lot of shots to get all them points. That's what AJ Storr was. I didn't think AJ Storr actually reached what he could have. John Tonje is more of a, I'm going to take 15 shots and I'm going to make 13 shots. Like, that's John Tonje. He wants to get downhill. He wants to get to the rim. He wants to get to the free throw line. So I'm all in with that. We got to get to John. He's lighting up the comment section over here with his ideas. So he says, the 2001 NBA All-Star Game was a 4-team, 3-game format, 8 players on each team, first to 40 wins game, which obviously changed that 60. Let Shaq, Barkley, Kenny, Stephen A pick their teams. Little mini tournament, but have it over 2 nights, and maybe if you keep it at 40 points, have it all done in one night. Be like WrestleMania vibes. I like that. Tables, ladders, and chairs, baby. And they wear their current team jerseys. That was what they were talking about doing back in 2001, but never did. So that's what they were talking about doing, never did it. He's saying this would be a way to improve the game. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all, actually. I think it'd be interesting to watch. I think the biggest problem that keeps coming back to me with the NBA is that there is no rivalries and nobody cares. That's my biggest problem. They get to the All-Star game and it's not like it's Kobe versus, it's not like it's Kobe versus the world. It's not like it's Mike and he hates everybody. Like, they're all friends. They're all on their phones. They all don't care. Like, if you want to make a good All-Star game, put the Indiana Pacers against Giannis. That's it. Because Giannis hates the Indiana Pacers. You want a competitive game, he'll give you a competitive game on All-Star night. Like, that's just Giannis against the Pacers. You want that, you could have it, right? That's a rivalry. Outside of that, like, everybody wants to push across the Lakers and the Celtics as a rivalry. It's not. It's not anymore. Maybe it was. It's not anymore.
It used to be. It definitely, it had its time where, like, even in the Kobe era, like, that was like, wow. Like, you're going in the paint, you're getting mugged. Like, I remember. But I honestly, and not to, like, completely disregard the NBA, but I just feel like after Kobe, like, that era, right? Like, right towards the tail end of his career, it just became, because I used to like watching Steph and I'm not mad that the NBA has changed to, like, it's gonna, like, sports are gonna change. I like the old way, but like when the Splash Brothers were just, banging them from half court, like, I did enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. It's just now you watch it and, like, almost every team kind of plays very similarly. And like you said, it's not like there isn't that appeal on a night to night basis where, like, oh, this is a massive rivalry. It's not like, Packers and Vikings and like look at the NFL. They just have like everything at their disposal. Well, even though I will say these wild card playoff games have been like the weakest in years, just from like a competitive standpoint, like the games aren't that close, which is weird. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. Like you gotta, and you can't manufacture like rivalries, like the Giannis versus the Pacers, like that's a real thing, the Giannis versus the Pacers. But like, I don't know. They once again, it's like we talk about the Packers and like the identity. What's the identity of the NBA until the playoffs? Like, it's like, whatever. Like it just makes its way there. It just finds its way to the playoffs.
It's just a bunch of dudes who don't care. That's what it is. A bunch of dudes who don't care. I mean, yes, there's guys who care, right? I love Giannis because Giannis is like a basketball purist, right? He still averages 30 plus points a game and he does it all from the interior. Like, I love watching Giannis. He's still going to give me everything he's got. And there's still guys who do. But then you get the Karl Anthony Townses and you get the Joel Embiids and you get some of these other guys where it's like, we don't care.
Kawhi Leonard, right? Like
Kawhi Leonard. I forget that he's even in the league. Sometimes
Yeah.
I forget Kawhi Leonard's even in the league half the time because he's out. It's like I don't even know. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love watching the Bucks. I'll watch the Bucks. I love watching the Bucks and keeping up with Giannis and that. But I don't get much further than that sometimes because it's like the interest is the atmosphere. The interest. It's just not what it was. Not what it was anymore. What did John say there? Instead of conference versus conference, imagine example LeBron with Giannis, Franz Wagner, Siakam, Tatum, and Cat, so forth. Be different to see how those people could play together. Yeah, no, I would agree. You split it up. You don't have West versus East. You just have a bunch of random teams put together. I agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of things that they gotta try to tweak and work with and try to up the ratings and try to get people back. I don't know how you do it, right? Because like you said, the 3-point shot it's blown way out of proportion. I mean, when you have a game where it's like they put up 54 threes and they only hit 12, like at what point do you stop shooting threes? I mean, there has to be a line in the game of basketball. Like it'd be like me showing up and I coach my 6th grade boys basketball team and we're shooting jump shots left and right and we're missing every single one of them. It'd be like me saying, keep popping them. They'll fall. Let's scoot it back. Let's shoot it from 3 this time. That'll work. Like, no, let's not try to get it to the rim. Let's not try to drive it closer. Nah, let's keep popping it. Let's just keep popping it because they're not falling yet. Like, it's just, it drives me nuts sometimes. It drives me nuts watching them shoot out there. That's why the NBA, I like the NBA. I do. And I'll watch it simply for the Bucks. That's it. Outside of that, the NBA has lost a lot of interest in me, and they've lost a lot of interest in a lot of people out there. And it's from one thing to another. It's the threes. It's all this other stuff that has taken people away from the NBA, and they did it to themselves. So now it's about how do you draw eyeballs back to it. And I don't know how. I don't, because you're not watching an NBA game over an NFL game. You're watching NBA over college, in my opinion. You're watching the NBA if nothing else is really on. Like that's just kind of how it is at this point here. So, Aaron, I mean, anything else we got to wrap us up for the night here? I was just looking through my Packers talk here, and I don't see anything else that we didn't really hit. We hit a lot of it tonight here.
Do you like either team? Well, I mean, just kind of the other games there real quick. Is Baltimore like? I mean, we saw them against the Steelers team. That what do we really think of that? But do you think they come out of the seeing them play against Pittsburgh? Does that give you any more reason to think the Ravens can go anywhere? The Texans can go anywhere? Like those couple Saturday games, like either result, does that make you feel any different about either team? I'll ask you that.
I think the Texans could give the Chiefs a run for their money. I think the Chiefs will win it, but if you watch the Texans defense, I love that defense, and they can turn guys over. I mean, look at the game against Goff. They turned him over, 5 times? And then they just turned over the other night there Justin Herbert multiple times too. I mean, they turn guys over. That defense plays well. So I liked what the Texans are able to do. I don't think they're going to beat the Chiefs, but I think they can give them a run. The Ravens-Bills is going to be a great game. That's going to be a great game. I think the Bills win it. I was impressed by the Bills in this one. They started out, I mean, they were just moving the football. And the Broncos did buckle down in the red zone a couple times there, and then the floodgates kind of just opened up, and it was just game over there. I was impressed by the Broncos, though. I was. I mean, Bo Nix has got a very good career in front of him. He's got a very good career. Like, I was super impressed with what Bo Nix was able to do this year. So I'm impressed with the Broncos. But I like the Bills. I think the Chiefs are going to make it through. Outside of that, I think the Eagles will be just fine. I just think they played a craptastic, sloppy game in this one.
We'll see. I mean,
they're going to avoid. They won't have to go to play the Lions right away, right? They're probably going to have. I mean, we'll see what kind of happens in the rest of these games. If the Buccaneers win, and then if the Rams win, we'll see who ends up playing who there. But I think the Eagles will be fine there. If they play like they did in this one, though, they're not a Super Bowl team anymore.
No,
like that's just my opinion. They're not a Super Bowl team if they play like this. Like, I didn't believe the Packers were a Super Bowl team. I didn't. I thought they could maybe limp their way and somehow like find lightning in a bottle. Like, it'd been crazy, but I thought maybe. I watched this Eagles team, and it's like when they put it all together, yes, 1,000%. But Jalen Hurts today with that inconsistency in the passing game, and the Packers just kind of stuck it out. I mean, I don't think the Lions get a bye slump. I don't think so. I think the Lions are the one team that needed that. And if they get any more guys back on that defense, they are going to be a scary team. Because that just getting Anzalone back for that game against the Vikings and how many impressive plays he had, I can only imagine if you get one more guy back on that defense, especially on the defensive line, some help there. So, I mean, right now, looking at it, there's not a lot of, like there was some impressive, there's not a lot of close games. So
what I am worried about, just because I am not rooting for the Ravens in any way, shape, or form, Derrick Henry makes that team different. I will say, with having to play Lamar. I mean, Lamar in the playoffs, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but we just don't. You never know. Like he can throw a clunker out there, but like having I'll put it this way: if you can't shut down, like Henry's not, he's like a Barkley. You're not going to shut him down. But if you can. If you're not able to limit him from gashing, like this, there's so many plays in that Steelers game. I'm like, yep, there's a first down. There's a first. It was just like like every time he touched the ball, he's getting like 10 yards a clip. It felt like if the Bills can't control him, they might be in trouble. I still trust Josh Allen to be able to like put up points at a premium, but I mean, if you can't stop him, like if he's gashing you all day long, I do worry for the Bills. I'll put it that way. Like, because then they can do whatever. And then Lamar's running all over the place. Like, it just turns into chaos,
Yeah, and John agrees with you there. He said Henry is more of an MVP on that team than Lamar, which I would agree. I mean, without Derrick Henry, I don't think they're as good as what they are. Right now, boys, we are currently all tied in our pick'em. Wow. I picked the Texans. Everybody else picked the Chargers. So I started out 1-0 against everybody. Then the Ravens won, so everybody got a point. The Bills won, so everybody got a point. I got screwed by the Packers. I picked the Packers.
Respect for the fanhood. Like, you got to.
Everybody else took the Eagles. I picked the Packers. Now this is where we decide ourselves here. Because I picked the Commanders, and everybody else picked Tampa. So if the Commanders win, I have the lead. And the only one who can catch me is my wife. She can only catch. She picked the Vikings. She's got the Vikings. We all picked the Rams. So she's the only one who can catch me and tie it. You guys would all lose. And then it'd be us two with that first place finish there. So this one's coming down to it, John. This one's coming down to it. We got the Rams and the Bucks. You got to root for them there. Rams and the Bucks there.
You called it, though. You called that text. Like, I was really not.
I told you guys. They'd come out hot.
I fell for because the Chargers were favored and like the Texans are like, like it felt like the Chargers were going this way up, and then the Texans were like, we're kind of a roller coaster, but it's
that defense.
That was a good pick.
Defense for the Texans, man. They just get her done. I thought the Packers would have been a good pick if the offense showed up in the first half. They showed up in the first half. That'd been a phenomenal pick there. But, well, you get what you get, and that's what you do. We throw a fit, right? That's what they say. Get what you get and throw a fit. I don't know. But, Aaron, anything else we got to wrap us up here? We're way past the holy crap. We're 8 minutes past the end here. They cut us off the air.
Let me see one quick thing here. I don't really think so. No, not really. John
did say Bucks in a blowout. He said it wouldn't even be close.
It's still. I mean, if they somehow go on a like crazy run here, I mean, of all, if you can just, I wish I knew all the free agent wide receivers just to get your input on because John brought up Chris Godwin. Like, as much as anybody that goes to Penn State, I'm going to root for. Chris Godwin was like electric in college, but he's injury prone. Like he's a nice piece he's an additional piece to me, especially
Yes.
at this stage.
He cannot be
But
your number one guy. You
no,
cannot bring him in to be the one.
And he's so like he gets beat up every year, it seems like. So
That's where I'm like Adams. Adams could be a one. He's a guy who comes in. He could teach your boys the system. He's used to the system. The fans still love him. Like it would be like, don't skip a beat. And
Right.
I think it would relax everyone. Plus,
Yes.
Adams was never a burn him over the top guy. He was just a consistent red zone dude, which is what you need right now. And he's a consistent hand. So I wouldn't hate Adams there. John did say, y'all see Pitt women make that huge comeback, 32 points. John, I was hoping that the guys from Green Bay would pull off a comeback there. I was not watching the Pitt women's team. I'm sorry for that.
Wow, Khalil Mack is going to be a free agent. Like
he's having a pretty good year. He had a pretty good year this last one. We'll see.
I used
Maybe
to
the
be a
Packers
big-
pick up Khalil Mack. Maybe they grab up Mack Attack and maybe hopefully have some guys develop in there. I don't even know at this point. We're going to get more into the Packers on Wednesday. We're going to talk more about this Packers-Eagles game. Once our heads are screwed on straight, we're all relaxed and we're all calm. We'll talk more about this Packers-Eagles game. We got more to talk Badgers game. We're going to recap that game with Ohio State. We're going to look at their upcoming games. We're going to look at it all, Bucks, everything. We got to look at the Bucks. Maybe we'll get Kyle back on here because we haven't looked at the Bucks in a while. So we'll get Kyle on here to look at the Bucks with us. So with that, for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here on Wednesday.